Hi, everyone, and today we are going to talk about the first lesson in topic one, and we're specifically going to focus on using and naming geometric terminology. Now, what we have in geometry as our most basic vocab word is the idea of an undefined term. An undefined term is basically the basic terminology we need to be able to define all of our other words. There basically are three building block words, and that is point, line, and plane. Now, a point is a location and has no sides. It's represented with a dot, and we name it with a capital letter. In this case, this is point P. We also have then just the naming would just be that capital letter. A line is an infinite number of points on a straight path that goes in two opposite directions and has no end. So notice here we have a line represented with 2 points on it. We name them with those 2 points AB, or we could call it BA officially as well, and a line symbol on the top. Or sometimes if you are given this cursive letter, we could use it line and then whatever that lowercase cursive letter is. Last but not least, we have a plane. I like to think about the plane being like your desktop. It is the infinite number of points and lines on a flat surface. So again, I like to think about your piece of paper is on your plane on your desk. Now, planes are going to be named either with this capital letter, sometimes it's in cursive, and you put the word plane before it, or you use 3 points on that plane. So in this case, X, Y, and Z. You could have also called it plane ZYX or plane YZX. The order there will not matter as long as the points are not on a line. They have to be just scrambled. So again, we have examples here of our three undefined terms. A point, again, we would just name that with a capital letter that it's represented, so G. We have our line here, a couple different ways. Again, you could name this, for instance, line N, the cursive letter. You could call this line AR with the line symbol on top. Very important, you put the line symbol. You could call it RL. You just need some combination of these 2 points. You could call it LA. Okay, again, the order will not matter on that. You could call it AL or LA. Again, we have multiple options on that one. When we name this plane, again, we have a large amount of options. For instance, plane R. We could call this plane and use 3 of the points on here. For instance, H, A, W, or we could call it plane T, H, W, something like that. Now, the only combination we cannot use, so cannot do any combination with the letters A, W, and T, because these are all on a straight line. We call that collinear, so that would not work. You have to use basically H, A, and W, or maybe H, W, T, T, A, W, or T, A, H. Again, cannot use those 3. Now, as we move on to the next page, once we have those 3 undefined terms, we can start building other vocabulary words. Again, those are our defined ones. So our other basic defined terms then are built off those. Notice we use in the definition of a segment these endpoints. Again, we're using the word point there. This is kind of a portion, if you will, of a line, but it's being cut off by those points. Notice the difference here between the top. We don't have arrows because we're not talking about the whole line. We're just talking about this segment AB or BA. Array is going to go infinitely in one direction from one endpoint. Now this is more specific. While up above, we could call this BA. Rays are special because we must start with that endpoint M and then show that ray symbol the direction it is going towards. So it has to start with that endpoint. Now, opposite rays, you're going to notice, look a lot like a line, right? We see that. But officially, an opposite ray is defining those 2 rays going in the opposite direction. So for instance, TS, and then we have TU. And then last but not least, we have an angle, and an angle is formed by 2 rays with the same endpoint. So in this case, they both have an endpoint at Q. Each ray is a side of the angle, and they extend from that common angle called the vertex. So we have a vertex here at Q. Now, a couple ways to name a ray. Notice each time we are using this angle symbol out front, so we know we're specifically talking about the angle. You could call this angle Q, representing that vertex point at Q. You could call it PQR. You could have also called it RQP. Notice the important thing here is that the Q, that vertex point, will always be in the middle. Sometimes if they give you a number, in this case angle 2, that could also appropriately work. So we want to name the following here. Okay, again, we have this segment KA. You could either call it KA or AK. Again, this is a segment. Next, we have a ray. We only have one option here for this ray. It's going to be NO. With the ray extending over the top, it has to start with N and not ON because it would be going the opposite direction. Our opposite rays here, again, we have a couple options here, but really we're looking at these two here. Our L would be one ray, and then the opposite direction, we would have R towards A. Again, we must start with that starting endpoint. And then last but not least, a couple options here for our angle. We could say CAB, or go that opposite direction and say angle BAC. We have angle 4, or we could just name this with its vertex angle A. Final page of our notes now. Okay. Again, take a moment on your own to try number 1. See how many ways you can name this angle. On your keyboard, feel free to use for the angle symbol the greater than option. Also try number 2 here. And what is another name for angle 1? And then finally, we would like to talk about this third piece here, number 3. Can we name any of these angles angle L? Okay, the answer is a little bit yes and no. Yes, we have an angle L here, but the problem is we have 3 of them. We have HLD, that's the first angle L. We have HLO, this angle L. And we also have OLD, DLO, this angle L. Okay, so the problem is angle L isn't a very descriptive name. Okay, there is not a specific enough note of which angle we would be talking about. So we should say no, that is not specific enough because there, because there are 3 angles at that vertex. So again, that's why we often want to use 3 letters so that we can appropriately name which angle L we are talking about. All right, little extra terminology to finish this out. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Collinear points are points that are on the same line. So A, B, and C would be collinear. Not collinear would be something like this example here where we have angle T over here. He is not collinear with the rest of those points. Coplanar points, again, would be located on the same plane versus not coplanar point, for instance, D, which is not on that same plane. And again, we talked about those opposite rays on the previous page going in those opposite directions. So to finish this out, try these last 2 on your own and name the 3 collinear points in number 4 and then some collinear points in number 5. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll work more with this in class.